So, today we're going to talk about the link between physical and psychological wellness. And to help us with this through a discussion of his own experiences with mental wellness and physical wellness, we have a very, very dear friend and practically family member of mine, Connor Thomas. Connor is the owner of Organic Strength Personal Training Center. He's my physical personal trainer and also my coach and a dear friend, as I said. Connor works daily with clients to develop their physical strength and their well-being, and in doing so enables his clients to develop a really strong sense of well-being, but also confidence. I came to Connor about 3 years ago, I think it was, with acute spinal pain, a lot of fear of exercising. I used to be very fit, and a lot of fear of exercising because of the pain. And Connor did what any good caregiver, any good friend would do. He met me where I was and worked me through not only the physical pain that I was dealing with, but in doing that allowed me to develop a sense of self-confidence again and a sense of psychological well-being, getting over the distress of being practically disabled for a number of years. And in the course of that, we've developed a real friendship, and I have developed a real personal understanding of the critical connections between physical wellness and strength and mental wellness. So we have Connor here today. And Connor, maybe just to start off, we've been sort of maybe give me a sense of your background, your story, how you came to be in your business, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. So I would say that this all started for me when I was in high school. And it was this big push, streamlined, especially in our society, to go the university route, to get kind of a corporate job. And I remember getting into fitness when I was about 16, and mainly for sport, but also for self-esteem. And I think the direct correlation that I felt at such an early age towards confidence, towards community, and towards bettering myself was so impactful that when I was in high school, like in grade 11 almost, I had one of these like aha moments of, I think I've developed a passion to want to help other people. And I come from a family where my dad got pretty sick at a young age, but his connection to health and fitness was something that stuck throughout his whole life, and even to this day, in which it empowered me to realize that there was true benefits past looking good. And that there was a mental empowerment there was a physical empowerment, there was a sense of I can challenge myself in a physical way that is also going to benefit me to be happier, to feel more energy, to enjoy my quality of life more. And I think that had someone like my father not pursued fitness even after being sick, his life would have deteriorated a lot faster.
Tell me, so your clients come to you seeking to be stronger, fitter. Tell me about their mental health journeys. Like, do you see a correlation between their physical and mental strength and wellness? And tell me about how you help them on both fronts, physical and mental.
Absolutely. I think it's important to highlight that each client has their own journey. And I think that we oftentimes categorize a group of people that go to the gym or work with a personal trainer as a one-size-fits-all. And that's never been an approach that I've taken. I think it's important to, like you said earlier, meet someone where they're at. So if someone comes to me and they have a goal to get stronger or better their mind, it's not the same approach that I would take with you that I would take with one of my other clients. What I always strive for is steps in the right direction and finding your why. I think once we determine a client's why, we can build a system that works towards their why to progress them. And until I've discovered, and I feel confident that I've truly discovered someone's why, I can't put together a system that makes sense. So I think that's step number one. Step number two is positive reinforcement, understanding that as human beings, we are not perfect. And understanding that in a 7-day week or in a 30-day month, we're bound to have bad days. We're bound to fall off track. And it's just that understanding that as long as the system is strong enough and there's support and community, that we can always get back on track a lot easier when you have that system in place.
You could be talking about the mental health care system. We were just chatting, it's so interesting that you talk about perfection in the sense that one of the themes we're seeing in all of these interviews that we're doing is, and it's not just with women, but it's often with women, and I wouldn't mind picking your brain on the men's mental health as well, but this this need for pleasing, this need for perfection, and the really tough time people have when they're not able to be perfect. And you even using me as an example, when I couldn't lift baby weights above my head, I would leave so discouraged and so down. But it's that positive reinforcement, as you say, and helping us to be comfortable not being perfect. Like,
Absolutely.
How hard is that for some of your clients? Like, is that a big journey for them?
Yes, and I truly want to highlight that social media plays a big role into this. And I, as a consumer of social media, always try to express to others, use it for knowledge, use it for what it was intended for, which was to gather people together, build community, connect with others, but don't utilize it as a tool of comparison. And I find that oftentimes we are so stuck in our mind or in our journey because we're utilizing so many of these tools in a negative way that it then creates the comparison factor. And I see that all the time. Well, this person lost 10 pounds. Well, this person lost 50 pounds, and this person can lift heavier than me. But the truth is that as long as you're at a better place than when you first started, you've made progress.
Yeah.
And so my message to my clients and to people out there is a step forward is a step forward, no matter how big, no matter how small. And there's true bliss and peace in stillness. And I think that we need to get more comfortable that even being still is a sign of progression. And we're taught, I mean, from a young age, you go elementary school, middle school, high school, university, we're always trying to apply pressure to move forward. And I love that, but sometimes just finding peace in where you're at and realizing how far you've come is a sign of progression as well.
How does it show up when people are not there? When people are either too hard on themselves, like you would see that on a regular, you see it with someone like me, but maybe use someone other than me as an example, are like the downside of not being mentally well in the physical sense.
Yep.
What does that look like, and how do you handle that with your clients?
I think a lot of it just comes from perspective. Trying to get someone to see where they're at is super crucial. Oftentimes, just simply trying to remind them where they started can be a really good starting point for them to actually have that, like, oh my gosh, you're right. For example, someone who can't lift 5 pounds on day one now is lifting 20, but is so discouraged that they can only lift 20 pounds, but they don't recognize that when they started, they can only lift 5.
Yeah.
And then another thing is just recognizing that you have the ability to change.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes is that if it's been done before, it means it's possible. And sometimes hope is just enough to get a client to really feel motivated. And once they have that motivation and drive, that's enough for them to take that and run with it.
Yeah, yeah. So much of what you're talking about, you could, if we weren't talking about mental health or physical health, you would think we're talking about mental health. It's very, very similar. The analogy is amazing. Talk to me about your own mental health and the journey that you've been on, maybe from two angles. Generally speaking, I mean, you've kindly donated to our cause, so you've committed. You've got a commitment to mental health through your practice, and we really appreciate that. But you're also an entrepreneur. And again, one of the messages we're getting out with this campaign is that entrepreneurship is tough, and It's not always easy, and you take a lot of risk, and there's a lot of uncertainty involved. So maybe talk a little bit about your journey in that regard, and maybe what some of your strategies are to navigate your own mental wellness.
Absolutely. I am someone who is very hard on himself. I'm also someone who has struggled with moments of depression in my life, moments of anxiety, and the depression and anxiety is something that I think comes in waves, and especially from pressure. I feel like in high pressure situations, I will feel even more anxious or a little bit more depressed on those days, and sometimes it will last months, and sometimes it'll last weeks, and sometimes it's just days. And I think for me is just a reminder to myself that this too shall pass. Is something that I tell myself almost every day, especially on bad days, is like, we're going to get through this. And I'm such a believer in the world gives the toughest battles to the toughest soldiers. And so like everyone is going through something in life. And it's just being able to pull yourself up on days where you're feeling down and just being able to find some sort of light in any sort of darkness. And I guess in terms of like entrepreneurship, the biggest thing I would say or strategy that I utilize for myself is starting to plan rest days and starting to take time to recharge. I'm a very go, go, go kind of person, and I know that leads very quickly to burnout, and it leads to emotions kind of being all over the place. But even top athletes, top entrepreneurs, they have planned rest days. Days where I'm going to recharge. I'm going to stay off of social media. I'm going to just try to sit in stillness and in really self-discovery on those days where I can get creative again, kind of get outside of the box, get outside of my head, and be more present with myself and with what's around.
Yeah. It's kind of like when we were training for the 10K, and well, you're a crazy runner anyway, but I wasn't. And you follow this path, this training program that some app gives you, and there's always a rest day in there.
Yeah.
There's actually more than one rest day. And you always find after you have that rest day, you run better the next day.
Absolutely.
And it's progression that way. So it's a really nice analogy to kind of allow for. We were talking to another one of our business leaders about the grind culture in small businesses, and success is more, hard, and that you're going to end up with an injury, right? If
Absolutely.
you keep like you wouldn't lift, well, you might tons of weight on a regular basis, but someone like me would get injured, and we have to worry about that a little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's even just in like a training philosophy is that any power lifter or strength trainer, they have something in their program called deload weeks, where it's where you go at like 40 to 70%, but you're not hitting that 85 percentile marker every single time that you go into the gym. And it's funny, you touched on success, and I think that I truly believe that success has this tie to monetary. But success doesn't need to look like cash flow. Success can look like more time to yourself, more time with loved ones, happiness, love. And we don't talk about the correlation of success when it comes to just being surrounded by wellness or being surrounded by people that you love. It doesn't have to have this correlation to a Porsche 911 or a mansion in the hills. It can simply just be, I'm so successful in having time to myself, having time with my family, having time with people that I love, being able to run a 10K. And when I hear people, oh, I have to run today, I'm like, no, you get to run. I have a client who's in a wheelchair who never got to run his whole life. And I'm sure that when he sees people running, he would love the ability to utilize his legs. So it's not this mindset of, I have to do something. I think we need to flip the perspective and be like, I get to do this today.
Yeah. I love that. Tell me something. Do you see as a trainer a difference with how men versus women will say define success, or with how they engage around either physical or mental wellness? Is there, maybe talk to me about men's mental health in this regard. Is it, because it strikes me that the grind culture maybe Well, it's probably present with all genders, but is it different with men than what I would experience as a woman?
Absolutely. I would say the biggest thing that I find when we compare man to woman, at least in what I've experienced, has been women struggle a lot more with body image. Men struggle a lot more with mental health,
Okay.
feeling like they're carrying a lot of weight, feeling like they're not meeting a certain marker. I have a lot of men, when they come to train with me, it's that they're feeling so down about themselves, and it's not so much physically, but it's that they haven't reached some sort of accomplishment in their life. And again, we are living by whose standards,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's super important, is that 300 pounds to someone, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so overweight. NFL linebackers are 300 pounds and they're one of the top athletes in the world, right? And so it's perspective.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not overweight. You have a very functional body where if your objective is to lose weight, we can build you a system and we can get you there. But in the meantime, I need you to realize that like you have a very functional body that can allow you to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
You can walk, you can run, you can go start walking and get your groceries. And so I think that the biggest thing with men is getting them to realize that you're so okay where you're at.
Yeah.
You know? You're so okay where you're at, and you don't need to be a superhero every day.
Yeah, so you train, and I've seen young men in your gym as
Yes.
well. So how do you support that vision of masculinity and men's wellness? Because I think what you're saying resonates with me about the need to be a superhero, the need to have everything on their shoulders, and hunter-gatherer kind of alpha male
Yeah.
thinking. Is that changing among young men? Are you able to engage differently with young men to help them, have a different perspective?
My answer to that, I hope so. You know, what information I provide is only information that I can provide, and what people decide to utilize or do with it is totally on them. But I think that there has been, or there should be, more of a shift in not applying so much unnecessary pressure, enjoying life, simplifying things, surround yourself with good people,
Yeah.
fuel your body with healthy food, move your body every day if you have the opportunity to. And you don't need to be this superstar in life every single day. Just be good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. But as you say, social media and other forces make that very hard. Right?
Very hard.
Yeah, for men and women. Yeah, it's brutal. We've chosen this campaign to focus on small business because I firmly believe that small businesses are a powerful force in the community. They're important for job creation. They're important frontline community organizations and so on. They're like families too. So I guess if I ask you as a small business owner, if you think about the role that your company and maybe some of your partners play in the mental health of your community or the contribution to the community, what do you think how would you define the force of small business from a mental wellness perspective? Is there a big sort of takeaway that you would say you really want to use your platform for, obviously, the health of your clients, but are there other dimensions that we have the capacity to kind of advance?
I think in a business perspective, yes, but also just in a human being perspective, is share kindness, support one another. There's enough sun in the world for everyone to shine, and there's enough businesses out there that need the support. And I think if we can all take our platform to just lend a hand to someone else, then we'd have a much more positive environment. And to me, it's really about community. We are one. There's so much separation in the world. There's so much divide, and there's too much hate in the world where we need to bridge that gap and start showing support, showing love. And I think if we all collectively, as business owners, provide that service to our clients, or we provide that messaging within our clients, there's going to be a lot more trend of positivity.
Yeah. Giving ourselves grace. I mean, what I've taken from this conversation is give yourself grace. take care of yourself, redefine success, or define success in a way that's more balanced than the grind, right? And your ability to do that in a physical way is really, really interesting and mirrors that kind of way we have to treat ourselves emotionally and mentally,
Absolutely.
psychologically. Yeah. Awesome. Well, listen, I want to thank you, Connor, very much for contributing your time, your talent, your money to this, and really looking forward to seeing what comes next with your practice. I know there's other business opportunities in your future that we won't get into, but really appreciate you taking time, and thank you for all that you're giving to the community.
Thank you.
Awesome.